Hello and welcome to the Analysis of Winning Lineups podcast. I'm Big Italy 42, talking about Week 6 and some big winners from Week 6. Starting off at FanDuel with a $1 million winner and a great username. I'm fairly certain that FanDuel isn't a big fan of it, but I think it's hilarious. Adrian Beat Your Son took down the $1 million top prize with 205.8 points, and 6 players on this team had ownership of 5.2% or less. So we're going to go ahead and start off with Mr. 5.2, Matthew Stafford. If you're watching football this week, you knew Matt Stafford had a monster game. He had over 400 yards passing, 37 yards rushing, 4 touchdown passes, ended up with 34.9 points, just under 7K. Great call there, and he certainly destroyed that price tag. Next up, Matt Forte, Mr. High Floor himself. A lot of times we see Matt Forte get a lot of yardage, not find the end zone. This week, he did find the end zone, just 89 total yards, but got a touchdown and a 2-point conversion, 18.4 points. Is about the baseline of what you're expecting at his price tag, but at his ownership, 19.2%, good enough to fill out that spot there where we saw a lot of running back duds this week, and he certainly was not one of them. And your top running back that was not included on the Thursday slate, of course, because Devontae Freeman went off again, Christopher Ivory, as FanDuel has him here, 18.8% at $7,300. There was a big discussion. Do you play Ivory? Do you play Eddie Lacy? Do you play both? Whoever was on the Ivory side, not the Lacy side, had a fine week, especially Mr. Adrian Beat Your Son here. And $7,300 at that price. He had 196 total yards, a score. And, I mean, this is a guy that's seeing a ton of looks in the passing game as well. Really hard to get away from him right now. Keenan Allen, 3.2% owned. We've seen him on half of the $1 million winning teams on FanDuel so far. 7,700, that low ownership, and the Packers. And we saw Philip Rivers throw for over 500 yards in this one. Keenan Allen did not score a touchdown, but 14 passes for 57 yards he caught there. And volume, once again, is the name of the game with Keenan Allen. I mean, he had a huge performance without finding the end zone. 22.7 points, great there. Your top receiver as far as yardage goes this week was John Brown, 3.6% owned. Great find here, 196 yards on 10 catches. Did lose a fumble, did not find the end zone, but when your wide receiver ends up with almost 200 yards, you don't really need to find the end zone. And as we saw, only a 1-point victory between first and second here in this big contest in the Sunday Million. But 1 point is more than enough to get this man $1 million. So congratulations there. DeAndre Hopkins next up. Hopefully you knew this one. He was 32.2% owned. He was expensive, and he's been worth every penny. And all but 1 week, he's been on the $1 million winning team on FanDuel so far. So, with a huge game, 10 for 148 and 2. And, I mean, he might be, in my mind, he is the most reliable receiver in the NFL. We got Devontae Freeman kind of cutting into Julio Jones right now. Antonio Brown is unplayable without Ben Roethlisberger. And, DeAndre Hopkins has been a beast. He's the guy I'll be continuing to look for. Really, I guess if there was a disappointment on this team, it would be Travis Kelce. Not that he had a bad game, 5 for 88 yards. Tight end was not a particularly great position this week. Kelce did well enough to pay off his price tag there. 11.3 points was the lowest score of anyone on this team by a decent margin. Only one really close was the kicker. Next up, that was Matt Prater. 3.3% owns. Like always, not going to get too much into the kicker, but 13 points is solid. I mean, it's a couple touchdowns there. So, got to like Matt Prater in that game at home, in a dome, made sense, shootout type of style against the bad Bears defense. And then the defense here, Miami Dolphins against Tennessee, top defense of Week 6. The Titans were awful. Dolphins under the new regime, 6 sacks, 2 fumble recoveries, 2 interceptions, a touchdown, just 10 points, 24 points there. Putting that in perspective, they outscored Keenan Allen. They also outscored John Brown. I mean, those guys had huge games. So big ups there for playing the Miami Dolphins defense. Moving over to DraftKings here, the Millionaire Maker, $1.2 million. It was dirty 6-6-1-3, and this one had a huge margin over second place, 15 points. You'll see why when we get into this lineup here. No surprise at top. Matt Stafford, 4.6%. I kind of touched on him earlier. LeGarrette Blount caught his first touchdown pass ever, ran for another, 23.4 total points there at 14.5%. We heard Deion Lewis was questionable, then we heard he was not 100%. Kind of made sense to pivot to Blount in your GPPs, and certainly paid off here for dirty 6-6-1-3. Chris Ivory, once again, got the 100-yard bonus here. The DK offers 31.6 points, 3 catches, 50 yards, as I mentioned earlier, total of 196 yards. DeAndre Hopkins, of course, included here, 100-plus yards receiving, 39.8 at 33% ownership. Now we're getting to the interesting stuff. Alshon Jeffrey, first game back, listed as questionable all week, had a huge game, 8 for 147 and a touchdown. Of course, he got that bonus. Like I mentioned, that 3.4% ownership, really, really low. Then on the other side of that one, it's almost like he knew this shootout was coming. Calvin Johnson had a huge second half and overtime period, caught his touchdown in the fourth quarter, had that 57-yard catch to set up the game-winning field goal by Matt Prater, the other winning lineup there, and ended up with 6 for 166 and touchdown. Of course, he also got the bonus. Tight end, mentioned how it was thin this week. Julius Thomas at 2.3% owned, 7 for 78 and a touchdown. Phenomenal play there at that price and that opportunity. So that was a great spot for him. Very low ownership. And then the real key here, outside of the other guys, Steve Smith Sr., questionable all week, a guy that I wanted to play so badly in cash games, couldn't pull the trigger, but he even said on Friday he wasn't sure if he would play. Sunday, we hear he's suiting up, and Dirty 6613 took a shot on him, and it was worth every penny. 7 for 137 and a touchdown. Obviously, the bonus once again. And then the defense, Broncos, kind of the chalk play, 15.9%, 4 sacks, 2 picks, a fumble recovery, a touchdown, and they allowed 23 total points. 6 of those points were allowed by the offense, so those don't get counted on DraftKings there. 17 points for them, 263.5, an impressive one there. All right, next up, going to be really interesting. To find out if we can find any of these guys. We found someone who won $1 million a couple weeks ago there. So if you know either of these people or you are one of these people, have them find me on Twitter at BigItaly42 or us at DF Cafe. But either way, check out our Twitter at DF Cafe. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. Lots of other great NFL content, college football content, NHL, PGA, everything else, and very soon NBA as well. So we'll check us back out for that, and we'll see you next time.